All right, well, I'm getting ready for Frank Walks number 2, and this could be the king of all sports radio, Mike Francesa. You know, Mike and the Mad Dog redefined sports radio when they were together for nearly 20 years, from 1989 to 2008, and they shaped the format. They shaped everything. You know, any time something happened, you couldn't wait for the next afternoon to see what they thought about it. If it was when the Mets collapse and everything, with a bad decision, bad move, it was Mike and the Mad Dog who had the final word and set the tone, and it was just like they were there. The Jersey Boys, you've seen the Jersey Boys, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know that line where Tommy DeVito goes, all the shit I pulled?
Yeah.
They actually named the street after me.
That's
I live on that street.
You do?
Yes.
I know Frankie Valli. Yeah, I've met him a bunch of times. All right, let's rock.
Frankie Valli, he grew up in the Stephen Crane Village.
Yep.
And the Stephen Crane Village is like maybe about about an eighth of a mile from where I live.
So tell me about your walks. When did you start?
Well, this is walk 128. We started at the end of September.
All right.
And it was basically like...
Did a doc tell you to walk?
Well, my doctor was basically saying that, my nurse practitioner.
Right.
It's hard to find doctors these days. But was saying that I had to start losing weight.
Right.
I was up to...
what number?
I was up to around 380, probably, in August.
Oof.
And so...
You know what? It's so much harder, and it's so much easier when you retire. I used to be like 60 pounds heavier than I am now. And just lifestyle, because I used to eat late, go to ball games, get off the air at 6:30 at night, go to a game, get home 12 o'clock, eat late, you know, hadn't eaten all day, eat at that time. It's a terrible time to eat, and you just put on weight, and you don't exercise because you're working all the time. You got to take time out to do that, and don't eat late at night.
Well, I was always amazed by how long your show was. I mean, it was...
5.5 every day. And, you know, we always went to games at night. I love, because I love going to games. I always had season tickets for the Yankees and the Mets. And we used to go to games all the time. Dog and I both love going to the games. And even after Dog, I love going to the games. He's taking my guy, Julio, who was my driver and he was a New York City detective. He used to love going to the games with me. He wasn't much of a basketball guy, but he loved the Yankees. That was his team. So I see you, of course, in your Met regalia here.
Oh, they always just let me down. It's like...
How do you feel right now? As we get ready for spring training, how do you feel?
I've never gone into a season with more dread and less hope.
Well, here's the thing. I have not been impressed by Stearns yet, okay? I don't like the way he handled the Buck firing. I don't like the way he handled Epler. I don't think he's handled things right, but I buy what he's trying to do now. Here's what he's saying. Yeah, I have money to spend. I got big money to spend. But here's the thing. I've calmed down the owner where he thinks he has to win a championship in his first year. That's the mistake he made. He came in the same way Tepper came in the NFL, thinking they're going to win immediately. They're not going to win immediately. They got to get smart people first. Here's the thing. He said, if I can buy the big guy, Ohtani, okay, the pitcher, he couldn't get those guys. He put out big money for the guys. He went after them hard. He wasn't going to get those guys. They're not going to come to the Mets. So the bottom line is, now rather than throw money away and overpay for guys who aren't worth it, let me evaluate the club for a year. If you notice, he has stockpiled 1 million relievers. But they don't have any starting pitching behind Senga.
No, they don't.
I always look at a season. I learned this a long time ago. You got 9 times 162, 1,458 innings. Somebody has to pitch those innings. You got to have people who can pitch those innings. I can tell you right now, he feels, I'm going to find some guys behind Senga. Now, one thing about Senga, he's good. Okay? He's really good. But he only threw 166 innings last year. He's not durable. So he's your ace, but he's not a durable guy. So the bottom line is they're going to have a bunch of guys they hope can get him through 5 innings. And then they're going to go to all these arms that they're going to have. They have the pitching lab, and they're signing these relievers right and left. behind, and they have obviously a big closer who I have to admit, I got to apologize to him. I have already. Because I thought after his first year he was dead.
I called him
I wanted to trade him.
I called him Egg-Loose. I thought he was the worst thing I had ever seen.
Listen, I thought he never would turn it around here. He turned it around big time. I got to give him credit. And I apologize because I was dead wrong. I said get rid of him, and he's been sensational. And he was so bad his first year, it was unbelievable.
It was incredible. Well, you know, that was the year they had that jacked up baseball, the baseball that was like on steroids.
Yep.
And supposedly, it had like the way the baseball was just didn't feel right in his hand. And it just had that jump, and everything he threw was a home run.
Hey, he's been sensational. You know what? He's got great stuff. He's got a live arm, and he's proved he can pitch in New York. You know, a lot of guys can't play here. That's the key. People don't realize that. There's a lot of guys, and that's why you got to keep Alonso. Alonso hits home runs.
And
he can play here. He relishes playing here. That is something you have to take into account because not everybody can play here. We know that.
You know what's going to happen? The Mets are going to trade him. They're going to trade him to a team that thinks they could sign him. He's not going to sign him. You know what's going to happen? He's going to go to the Mets and go, "Well, you didn't want me? I'm going to the Bronx."
I don't see him on the Yankees because they have too much money locked up. They're going to try and re-sign Soto, which is going to be hard to do. The Mets are going to come hard at Soto. He's going to want to be a free agent because of his connections. He's going to want $500 million, and you can't pay him more than Judge. It's impossible. I don't know if they can do that, but here's the bottom line. I understand he's 29 years old. Plus, they look at him as the kind of body that's going to break down. I would go to him in season here, right now. I talked to him in spring training, I'd say this. Listen, you're 29, 5 years, $45 million a year, 5 years, okay? I'll give you that much money, 5-year contract. Then he's at 34, you can take a look at him, and you're probably going to let him go. You don't want to own him, paying him $40 million at 35, 36, 37, and get a contract like Pujols, or get one of these contracts where you got dead money like Cabrera with the Tigers. You don't want that kind of contract. You don't want to get locked in, and the teams are getting too smart to get locked into those guys. You notice that the good teams now are young. They're athletic, they're young. That's the bottom line, and that's why they're smart not to go after guys who are older, who are going to get paid more than they need. Let them evaluate this year. Here's the thing, though. They got caught really short. They did stupid things signing the pitchers they signed old men who are getting big contracts. And the bottom line is they just don't. I mean, their starting pitching is scary bad. Scary bad.
I didn't think it was 100 games.
I think they're going to be a little better than you think because you know what? The sport's become a bullpen sport. If you can get these starting pitchers to give you 4 innings, 5 innings, even 4 innings some night, and go right to the bullpen, he's going to have listen, he's a bullpen guy. He was a bullpen guy in Milwaukee. He's going to load up the bullpen with live arms. He's already done that. He's out shopping for other guys now. He wanted Peralta, didn't get him. The bottom line is they're going to have a deep bullpen, and they got an anchor at the bottom of it. They got a good pitcher in Senga I think he's a 2. I don't think he's a 1. I think he's a 2. He needs extra days off, okay?
Well, it's
he threw a great
pitching.
166 innings last year.
It's a Japanese pitch. The Japanese place. The Japanese have 6-man rotations.
Yeah, and he threw a great, I mean, really, he was terrific last year. He really was. I was very impressed by him, but he only threw 166 innings, and they're not that bad overall. I mean, I would sign one right-handed bat, that I could DH. I like Stewart. Stewart showed you a live bat last year. I'd give him a chance to be the platoon DH. He kills right-handed pitching. He had a 900 OPS. Get a guy like Martinez, doesn't have a team. You play him against lefties. He had a 900 OPS against lefties last year. You give him some starts against righties. You got enough guys in the pen. Bader will help you. He's a good player. He's not a great player. He's a good player. He's a good fielder. He's an okay hitter. He's not a bad player. You know, Marte's got to have a year. He'll bounce back this year, I think.
I don't know about that.
I think he'll bounce back. He was so bad last year. He's not that old, though. So I think you'll get another year out of him. And you look at it, you know, McNeil, Lindor, Alvarez, Pete. I mean, they got some pop in the lineup. They really do. The problem is they just don't have any starting pitching.
I just never had more dread, and I'm just scared they're going to trade Pete Alonso.
I think they should try to sign him. If they can't sign him, then I agree with you. I think they'll trade him. But I think they got to try and sign him first. And sign him to a shorter contract, but give him more bucks. Because I don't know what Pete's going to be at 34. I don't even want to look at him at 34. But right now, the guy hits 40 home runs. And here's the other thing. He plays every single day.
Yes, he's missed. The only games he's missed injuries.
Yeah.
And it's been like little.
And he came back fast from the injury, faster than he should have.
Should have. He
Absolutely.
I think he should have not skipped the All-Star game completely last year. Because he looked like he was just like wiped out.
Tell me, you've been a Met fan since you were a kid, right?
Yes.
Grew up a Met fan. Was your dad a Met fan?
No, he's a Yankee fan.
He was a Yankee fan. Is that why you became a Met fan?
Well, what happened was...
See, I didn't have a dad, so I made my own choice. I was a Mickey Mantle guy. I grew up when there was only one team in town. There was no Mets. There was no Dodgers and Giants. They were gone. I was an in-between kid. So I'm the automatic Yankee Mickey Mantle guy because they were the only team in town.
My father's actually... your birthday is...
I'm 69, yes.
Your birthday is
March 20th.
March 20th. My father's birthday is March 25th, 1953.
Oh, and I'm 54.
Yep.
March 20, 1954.
Yeah, so
I'm going to be 70 this March. That's a scary number, you know. Very scary number.
My father grew up a Yankee fan. His favorite player is Joe Pepitone.
Oh, my father's favorite. See, my father took off when I was 6. Never saw him again. Okay, he left us high and dry. That's a story for another day. But my father's favorite player, I remember when I was a little boy, was Pepe. He loved Pepitone. See, he used to say to me, you think Mantle's so great he couldn't shine DiMaggio's shoe, because that's an Italian guy telling me that, okay? You know, and I loved Mantle. He was my only idol. I worshipped at the altar of Mickey Mantle. I used to come out of the game on the street and run upstairs just to see him hit. My mother would call me and say, Mantle's up. I run inside just to watch the at-bat, then I go back and play. I mean, that's how much I worshipped. And I didn't get to go to any games. We didn't have any money. I couldn't go to games. I went to one game a year if I was lucky. Maybe my Little League took me, you know, or something like that, or we got tickets from somebody. So I never got to go to the games, but I worshipped Mantle. Then I went through all those lean years, okay? Like when the Mets were great in '69, I was on the outside looking in, okay? I knew, it's funny, in '67, I said, you know what? These laughingstock Mets, they're not laughing anymore. I could see it, Seaver and Koosman. They were all business. They didn't take things funny. They didn't think it was the lovable Mets. And all of a sudden, you know what happened. So you're a Met fan. Who's your favorite Met? If there's one guy you want to spend 2 hours talking to, he's your favorite Met of all time. You might not know him. I don't mean he's a person that you know now, because you get to meet guys now. Forget that, okay? Who is your favorite Met as a player ever?
It might be Piazza. Because he kind of reminds me of my uncle a little bit, the way he like talks, his mannerisms.
I love Mike.
Yeah, I mean, being into the
How
heavy
exciting
metal music,
was he?
Being into the heavy metal music. My uncle is into heavy metal
music. I
music.
hate heavy metal, but I loved his bat, man. And he hit more. How many clutch home runs, big home runs did this man hit? He was unbelievable. I mean, how exciting. I miss Piazza. How exciting was Piazza? You couldn't miss an at-bat. And if the game was on a line, how many times did he hit big home runs? His first year, he had like 6 game-winning home runs when he came to the team.
And you know, I have a theory. You know, you and Mad Dog really like pushed.
Well, we did. We pushed hard because his agent called me and said, "It's true." I'll tell you the story. The agent called me, and he said, "Mike's going to go to the Cubs. He's going to the Marlins, but he's going to wind up with the Cubs. Can you get the Mets involved?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "What did the Mets say?" He goes, "Well, we want to let you know. Mike wanted me to call." So he calls. Okay. The Mets said. Steve Phillips said, "No way." Comes on the air with us.
Yeah,
no way.
That.
We battled with him. He said, "No way." Okay. What happened was they went into a meeting, and Doubleday was listening to us in the car. And I've been told this by guys who were at the meeting. Doubleday said, "I was listening to the boys in the car. They're right. We need a guy. Try to get him."
You know,
and it was Doubleday. The Wilpons didn't want him. And Phillips didn't want him. Then Doubleday put his foot down. And the next thing you know, he's here. And you know what? I drove by that place. They were playing the Reds a doubleheader 2 nights before. And it was empty. It was empty.
It was the same night as the Yankees were also playing at home that day.
Yep.
And it was the same night
And nobody in the ballpark.
The same night of the fight, of the Benitez fight with the...
when he hit him in the back?
Yeah.
Hit Tino in the back?
And it was also...
After the Bernie home with Benitez.
And it was also the same week that David Wells threw the perfect game.
Right.
And it's like all the buzzes in the Bronx, all the Yankees got this buzz.
And nobody's there.
And the Mets had like 5,000 people
And
for
I
a doubleheader.
said, they gotta get this guy. There's nobody there. They're dead on their feet. Do you know what? From the day he arrived, they averaged 32,000 fans a game the rest of the year. He paid off his salary the first year he was there. And how exciting was he year after year after year? The guy was unbelievable. And I had, he was tough with the media because he was very quiet. He didn't want to do a lot. I always had a good relationship with him because his mother liked me, because she said I said nice things about him. The bottom line was he was always a favorite of mine. You know who the good guys were? The guys that really... Todd Zeal, one of the great guys ever.
Yeah.
Great guy. Timmy Toffel was a good guy. Hojo was a good guy.
Hojo was another one of my favorites.
Yeah, really good guy, too. A very, very good guy. I'll tell you who was a good guy. And I heard bad things about him all the time before he came here and when he was coming here, and turned out to be a great guy, Terry Collins. One of the nicest guys I ever met in baseball. Turned out to be a terrific guy. I
didn't quite
love Terry
appreciate
Collins.
him when he was manager, but he found ways to get the best out of that team.
I like Terry Collins. Everyone said he was a hard ass. The players didn't like him. I never saw any of that with the team. I loved Terry Collins. And you know what? When he had players, he did a good job. And you know what? He gave you a moment. Now, we all know it was a tough finish, but boy, that was a fun year before that, that's for sure.
I just wish somehow the Blue Jays could have beat the Royals. The Mets would have beat the Blue Jays.
Yeah, but you know what?
The Royals were
Royals were perfect.
The Royals were
perfect
wrong,
to eat up the Mets.
Wrong. The one that
they never made a mistake.
And Travis d'Arnaud.
Yep.
I could steal a base off Travis d'Arnaud.
And they knew they could run on everybody, and fundamentally they were so sound. I mean, they were so sound in what they did. They were really good. They were a terrific team. They really were.
Yeah, that was the wrong team for them to play.
Now let's talk football for a second here, okay? I know you're a Dolphin guy.
Oh,
right?
what a disappointing
Talk
finish.
about crash and burn. Now, one thing to be fair.
Injuries. It was
they
all
did
injuries.
have a million injuries on defense, especially.
Well, their entire linebacking crew was gone.
My God. I mean, they had a good defense, too, both when they were healthy. They really did. I mean, the head coach is a trip. He really is. But he has some interesting thoughts. He really, guys have caught, if a guy has really done something interesting, every team in the league is copying what he does. Every team. So when you have a guy who does that and is that innovative, you found something. And he's a unusual guy. There's no question about it. But he has come up with some stuff that people copy. Everyone in the league they're all copycats. They'll always copy something that works. And everybody will use it. And they're all using stuff that he's come up with. Every team.
I knew the Dolphins were toast when I got the, and I still actually have my subscription. I'm probably one of the last people in America to have that has a subscription to Sports Illustrated. Probably won't last much longer, but
no, it won't. I don't think.
It's either going to go all online or it's going to be gone. The magazine's going to be gone.
I think it might be gone completely.
I got this month's issue.
Well, pretty much they're dead anyway. Let's be honest.
I got this month's issue.
Yep.
They think they could get a March issue out, but beyond that. Will there be a baseball preview this year? I don't know. I've had Sports Illustrated subscriptions on and off since 1988.
All right, let's talk some baseball preview. You ready for the season already? Have you done any homework on this season yet? A little?
A little, maybe.
82 wins for the Mets. What do you think? Over, under?
Under.
You think under?
Yeah.
Under 82?
Way under.
All right. Yankees, 93 and a half. And I'll tell you, the Yankee pitching is a lot more suspect than people think.
I actually think under.
You might be right. I think I think it's right around the number, but I don't
like their pitching.
I'm telling you, their pitching is not as good as people think.
I see them around 87, 75.
I would say 90, but you're probably right in the ballpark. I have a feeling they're not as good as people think. Now, Judge and Soto, they still don't have a leadoff hitter, but Judge and Soto and Verdugo is going to be a big Big plus for them. He's going to be very good at Yankee Stadium. And thank God they finally went and got some left-handed hitting. I've been screaming about it for years. I don't know why they became so right-handed. Yankees are about left-handed power and left-handed pitching. That's what they have always been.
You think Rizzo
about.
could bounce back this year?
Who?
Anthony Rizzo.
I don't know. It was such a weird thing last year.
He had the concussion.
I was at the game. I took my son Jack to the game, and there was a collision at first base, and I never thought anything of it. But after that, he was hitting well, and then he didn't hit at all.
Yeah.
I mean, for like 2 months. Now, they didn't diagnose him because, they let him play every day, and he didn't get a hit for 2 months. He was awful. I mean, it was unbelievable. He was just waving at the ball until they finally sat him down. He was terrible.
His...
I don't know. I would think if he's healthy, he's going to be okay. I mean, I think you get what you expect out of Rizzo. That's all. But the bottom line is, I'd like to see him have a leadoff hitter. They don't. They'll probably have to bat LeMahieu first. I still think they could make a trade somebody for a pitcher. I could see them doing that. I think
need another pitcher, too.
I think they definitely need another pitcher. I need another pitcher in the pen. And I think they could use another pitcher in the starting rotation because, you know what? They had to give up King to get Soto, and King was going to be a big player for them next year. I don't think there was any question about it. I was looking forward to that. But, hey, you get Soto, you get a chance. They're going for it with Soto. But you know what they haven't? With that trade yesterday for the Orioles they could be great. They could be sensational.
You know what?
And now with new ownership,
Yeah.
I mean, they could be dynamic.
They're going to start locking. They're going to lock
young,
their guys up. They're going to lock their guys up.
They
now.
got some great young players.
Yeah,
they
need to
and
get
they got
rid of
fresh money now.
They need to get rid of the Angelos.
Well, he's leaving now. I mean,
Yeah, he's gone.
Hey, Cal Ripken, Grant Hill, all those guys in on the new team. You know, all these baseball guys. Now that's what they want to do. They all want to own teams because that's where you make a ton of money.
Do you believe they were threatening to leave Baltimore?
I don't think they really would. But the bottom line is they didn't have to. They got what they wanted. But hey, having a face like Cal Ripken. Baseball's a thrill. I mean, to get a guy like Cal Ripken running as the face of your franchise, you couldn't be happy, especially with the young players they have. It's unbelievable. So tell me about your walk. How's it been? So how much weight have you dropped? How many days in a row is the walk?
Well, my weigh-in's today. It's 128 straight days.
120. And are you dieting at the same time, at least watching what you eat?
I'm cutting back.
Okay, cutting back. Don't eat after 8 o'clock at night is a huge key. If you can do that, that's step number one. Don't eat late at night. Number two, you walked 128 days in a row. How many pounds have you lost?
Well, I'm weighing today, but my last weigh-in I was at 343.
And you started at?
Around 380.
Very good. Keep it up. That's good. If you do it slow, I'm going to tell you something. I worked for CBS for years. I did college basketball, college football, the NCAA tournament, the NFL Today.
Oh, I remember you on college football.
Right.
I remember the 1990 Cotton Bowl where you were about to basically, Miami,
Dennis Erickson and I got into a brawl. Oh, man, he wanted to take my head off after that. That was the craziest game. I did that Cotton Bowl, and they were hitting guys, getting 15-yard penalties, sacking the quarterback, and then getting up and getting another 15-yard penalty. I mean, it was crazy.
Miami had over 200 yards in penalties and won the game by 40 points.
Oh, they killed Texas, and they were doing it on purpose.
And he had Randall Hill going up the tunnel, gyrating.
Oh, it was ridiculous. And I went after them, and then he went after me. Dennis Erickson and I hated each other.
That's when he came up with the Miami penalties.
He's a good coach, though. He
came up with the Miami penalties, the celebration because of that game.
Absolutely, and I'm telling you something, they were out of control.
What happened was they went in that game. They had 2 bad losses that year.
Yep.
And they went in that game with a chip on their shoulder. That we can't win a national championship. We can't win a national championship.
Right.
But we're going to go out there just to embarrass Texas.
And the gloves are off. We're not behaving. We're doing whatever we want today.
It wasn't the combo committee didn't want to give him the trophy. It was it was they were just
It was. I've never seen a game like that was that one-sided, and the team was deliberately knocking guys down and hitting guys on purpose. They were actually just hitting guys for the sake of hitting them.
It was a shameful performance.
It was. It was unbelievable, and I went crazy about it, and then Erickson went crazy on me, and we went back and forth. It was unbelievable. You're right, but here's the thing I was going to tell you. I got to do the Ohio State-Michigan game a bunch of times, okay, which was a great thrill. It's the greatest rivalry in sports. It's unbelievable. And it's balanced. You talk about Yankee Red Sox before the last 20 years. The Yankees never lost. I mean, so, the bottom line is, it wasn't really a rivalry because they never lost until of course, that fateful series in 04. Bo Schembechler had heart trouble since he was in his 30s. He had a heart attack when he was in his 30s. He told me that, I remember in the practice, I was talking to him and he said to me, I'm going to tell you one thing. My doctor told me. I said, go ahead. He goes, never forget this. For every hour you walk, you live another hour.
Oh, huh.
For every hour you walk, you live another hour on Earth. So how about that? So every time you put an hour of walking in, you put another hour in the bank. So 24 hours of walking is another day on Earth. So just an hour for an hour. Every an hour walking is another hour on Earth.
That's a great Paul quote.
Yeah.
You're talking about football before. I'm a Dolphin fan. I hope the Dolphins make one run. And personally, I think they got to change the uniform. Go back to the throwback uniform. I love the throwback uniform. That's the uniform I fell in love with. I
hate all the new uniforms. So I'm old-fashioned. I like all the old uniforms. Like if the Yankees changed the uniform like they did on the road this year, I hate it.
No,
I hate it.
Mike, they didn't change. You know what they did? They went back to the uniform of your youth.
Right, but they're putting some extra little stripes on it and some different things. I like the... You know what my favorite uniform is in sports? Dodgers home uniform. Just white. That's it. I love it. It's as bright a white as you can see.
Because from what I see from the Yankee uniform, it kind of looks like the pre-1973 road uniform.
And the best thing is no names. I mean, that's, that is the best thing because no one has that. No names.
I'm surprised that's lasted.
Yeah, because, broadcasters really were adamant. One of the things they told, when teams meet with leagues and when broadcasters meet with leagues, one of the things they said, and I know they said it back in the 70s about the NFL, we got to have names on the uniforms. In baseball, announcers want names on every uniform. Obviously, it makes their job easier. But the bottom line is some things are just classic and should never, ever be changed. And I hate the idea of putting decals on the uniforms or sponsors on the uniforms. I love the old uniforms. And I always say just leave them alone. But you know what? All this is about is money. And it just, the more money they make, the more money they want, the more money they want to split up, the more money the players want, the more money the owners want. It never, ever. And like this year with the streaming the playoff game, which I went crazy about. You know what? It was a home run for them. They made money. They made money with the game. So the bottom line is they could turn around and pay the NFL $110 million for a playoff game and make money on the game. How unbelievable is that?
And when I see Yankee fans in the stands wearing the name on back, that bugs me.
I don't wear anything. It's just not my way. I've never worn jerseys. I don't wear anybody else's name on my. I don't wear any. I don't have any uniforms. I don't have them. My kids do.
Yeah, I got
Everybody
my jersey
does.
collection. I'm wearing
I know everyone likes them. It's just not my thing.
I'm wearing a Nolan Ryan 1969 Mets jersey right now.
Nolan Ryan. What an amazing Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi. I remember it well. Jeez. I saw Nolan Ryan pitch with the Mets, so I'm old enough to actually have remembered that. And I'll tell you something. Nobody anywhere ever threw harder. I used to say about Ryan, if the curveball is in the strike zone today, you're talking no-hitter.
He just
you know he's going to walk somebody. You know that's going to happen. He can't go a game without walking somebody. When he was at the
Mets, he just never harnessed the control.
No, he could. It was two things. One, he had a lot of blisters in those days. They came up with the pickle brine, but he had a lot of blisters. Number two, they built the team around Seaver and Koosman, not about Ryan. Ryan didn't get to pitch regularly. He needed to go somewhere where he could become the horse, where they give him the ball every fifth day, let him be the horse. And let's be honest, he did that his whole life. And I know people are controversial about Ryan because he lost a lot of games, he walked a lot of batters, but the bottom line is we've never seen a power pitcher ever be able to carry his power into his career that late.
27 years.
Like Ryan, nobody. And it's all the Rube Walker leg drive. Seaver had it. Gentry had it. Ryan, they used their trunk, they used their base to get their speed, takes pressure off their arm. And you know what? Seaver, Koosman, Ryan, no arm trouble because they use their lower body and use their hips and legs to drive through and all leg drive, that low base stuff. And that's what Rube Walker believed in. And they all had incredible success. And Ryan is, let's be honest, a freak of nature, an absolute freak of nature like we have never seen. There's a couple of freak of natures in baseball. Nolan Ryan was a freak of nature. Ricky Henderson was a freak of nature. He never even concentrated to play baseball, and he played it on a level where, you know, there were years when he was leading off for the Yankees and Mattingly was in the lineup. Mattingly, I'll be honest, I love Mattingly, and he was a great player in those days, but he got 60 RBIs on fly balls and groundouts because he was standing on third base every time he came up with one out. He's on third base with no out. Every time Mattingly came up, Mattingly just had to make contact to get an RBI.
That's productive hitting.
It was unbelievable. Because Ricky was on third base every time he turned around. I never saw any. Gene Michael told me, he said, the two greatest talents I ever saw. He said, I really could include it to three, Mike. I said, okay. I'm playing golf with Stick one day, and Stick was a great talent evaluator. He said, the three greatest talents I've ever seen in baseball. Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, Ricky Henderson. He said the three greatest physical talents I ever saw in baseball. That was from Gene Michael.
Now, I saw a tweet you made yesterday about the Lakers and sitting LeBron.
Come on. Listen, the NBA, you teed me up. How can you have a league, first of all, that has an in-season tournament?
That was the worst thing ever.
What was that? We dye the court, we change the court, and then we give them a trophy and give everybody a check for $500,000.
I can't
and
believe
we say,
the Lakers
what was the
actually
meaning of that?
The Lakers put a banner up. You know what I can't believe? The Lakers put a banner up. They may not even make the playoffs, and they got this Fugazi banner hanging out there.
Wait a second. And you know what? I've always loved the commissioner. I loved him, okay? I used to have a love-hate with David Stern. I loved the commissioner. The bottom line is this was the worst idea in the history of mankind, okay? How can you have an in-season tournament for nothing? Okay, let's go this way. For nothing. It was for nothing. There was you got a trophy and a check, okay? It was like having a camp production, okay? It was worthless. And then you have a league where you have a kid who saves up his dimes and nickels, or his father saves up, maybe he has a regular job, and going to an NBA game is not cheap.
No,
in Boston, in New York, in any of these places. It's almost a half a week's salary for some of these people to take a couple of kids to the game. And then you find out 10 minutes before the game that LeBron James and AD aren't playing, or you have a game that they ballyhoo for 2 weeks. Philadelphia at Denver, Jokic against Embiid. 10 minutes before the game, Embiid's not playing. Oh, and Maxi's not playing. And this guy, hey, in the NBA, you never know who is going to play.
Load management really is a load.
It is the worst thing. It has completely, and I'm an NBA guy. I love the NBA. It has completely devalued and destroyed the NBA regular season. The NBA regular season is junk. I like the playoffs because they all play, and you know what they're playing for. Yeah. But that in-season tournament shows you that they have a league that is devoid of any value in the regular season. How can you have a tournament inside your season?
I mean, it's the worst. It reminds me of.
I can't believe people had to sell that. How could you sell that? And here, we're going to put a couple of angles on the court and paint them.
Oh, look, they're so ugly too. I mean,
and what are we going to give him? We're going to give him a trophy. We're going to give him $500,000. And the Lakers have the gall. The Lakers of Wilt Chamberlain, of Jerry West, of Elgin Baylor, put up a banner for this. My God, okay? You know what? Wilt Chamberlain's rolling over in his grave.
I actually refuse to watch any of the end-season tournament games.
Wait a second, I've gone farther. I have to admit, I've watched the Knicks a couple of nights. Last night, shorthanded, I watched the Knicks' great comeback. Wait, really, it's like watching Villanova old, okay? That's what it is, okay? It's Villanova after the fact. It's like, I love those Villanova teams. And now, you got Villanova North. That's what they are. And the bottom line is, shorthanded, they go out and win that game. I love Brunson, but I have watched non-Nick, and very little Nick regular season. I am protesting the regular season until the players get back on the court. And you know what? If you think your players should only play 60 or 65 games, then schedule 65 games.
Yes.
Take the hit. Both the owners and the players take the hit, you greedy SOBs, and take the hit and play 65 regular season games, and we'll live with that. But try and give us that garbage in-season tournament was an affront to anybody doing anything. That was disgraceful.
I couldn't agree more. And people who talk about the LeBron Michael Jordan debate, there shouldn't be a debate. Jordan played every day. The only games he missed, he was suspended for.
Listen, I love LeBron, but let me tell you, here's the difference, and people got to understand this. Okay, and I saw Michael Jordan break in college. I saw him every day he played. Michael Jordan didn't have a competitive drive. He burned white hot, okay? It was winning or dying. There was nothing else. He wanted to destroy you. This is what he wanted to do. He didn't want to win the game or score 40 points. He wanted to take your will away. He wanted you by the second quarter to say, I can't play against him. We can't win. I can't cover him. We can't win. That's what he always sought out. Even in college, he sought out the best player. When he went to practice the first day at Carolina, what did he do? He took on James Worthy because he always wanted to take on the best and already take his will away and prove he was the best. Nobody has ever, that I've ever seen, has had that drive. He had a level of competition that people don't go to, and that's why nobody compares to him, because it was living and winning or dying. That's how he felt, and he wanted to own you. And Van Gundy used to tell the Knicks, don't talk to him before the game. He wants you to be his friend. He wants you to say, wow, Michael Jordan talked to me so he could go out and rip your lungs out on the court. And that was part of his game plan. He was the ultimate competitor. LeBron doesn't have that gear. LeBron is a versatile talent and a body the likes of which we have never seen in the NBA.
Top 4 all time, no doubt.
And multi-positioned. And is a talent the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen in a body that size. He's played 20 years at a top level. He's been unbelievable. But he does not burn like Michael Jordan burns. Nobody burns like Michael Jordan burns. Nobody.
And I know you're not a hockey guy.
I love the playoffs, though. I don't try to fake hockey. It's funny. I grew up in East Atlantic Beach. I had 6 Rangers on my paper route. I've known the Rangers my whole life. Ricky Francis was on my baseball team. I played with him and against him. That was Emil Francis' son. I knew Cat since I was a little boy because he was a minor league player who became obviously the guy who ran the Rangers and was the boss. He lived in Long Beach. All the Rangers lived there except Gilbert, who was a playboy who lived in the city. But I had, Parkin, Rattel, Tkachuk, all these guys. Reggie Fleming, who I loved. He used to play basketball with Reggie Fleming and Earl Ingerfield. So, I go way back with these guys. But I got to give something up. I can't cover everything. So I didn't cover regular season hockey. But I love the level of competition in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I like to go to games. I always go to a couple of Stanley Cup games, whatever team it is. I love it. I really do. And I think that their competition in the postseason is as pure as anything is. It's a great competition.
And nothing was like watching Martin Brodeur for me.
Really? You're a Devil guy.
Yes.
And they were great. Scott Stevens, Brodeur, really wonderful guys. I'm very close to Lou Lamoriello. I have been for a very long time. Brilliant guy. A brilliant guy. The players hate him because he was always cheap with a buck. But the bottom line, and they used to say he acts like it's his money. Well, you didn't realize it was because Mr. McMullen gave him a little piece of the team. Mm-hmm. So he did have a piece of the team. So, but Lou was really smart about the way he ran that franchise. And I'll tell you this, I've been to Frank just about every sporting event you can ever go to. I've never been to the Indianapolis 500. I've been to the Kentucky Derby. I'm not going back until I have a horse in the race now. I've been there 3 times. I'm not going back again until I take a horse there. I've never done that. That's my goal. I keep trying. The bottom line is, of all the sporting events I've ever been to in my whole life, the most intense game where the pressure in the building, you could almost hear the building inhaling and exhaling as one. Rangers Devil Game 7.
I think that might
Conference final.
I think that
as
might
they
be.
were waiting between periods 2 and 3 was the most intense I ever felt a sporting event in my entire life.
I think that might be.
And I was at that game because I did play-by-play afterwards. I did my TV show
I remember
upstairs
that show.
Afterwards. So I had a seat. I used to watch the games. I went to every Ranger home game, every Knick home game. And I said, my God, this is the most intense game I have ever
I think
felt.
that might have been the greatest playoff series I've ever seen in any sport.
It was the most, I never felt that intensity. My favorite Yankee game ever is 96 Game 6. The Girardi triple off Maddox. And the Yankees win that game 3-2, complete the 4-game sweep after losing the first 2 badly and win their first World Series in a long time. That night, the culmination, when Girardi hit that triple, is the loudest I ever, and I've been to Yankee Stadium 1,000 times, the loudest I ever heard Yankee Stadium. That series is my favorite series ever. I love 64, which the Yankees lost in 7 games, but I love the series. I followed the series as a little boy.
About 94 with the Devils.
I love the 64 World Series, game by game, back and forth. You know, Mantle winning Game 3 with a walk-off homer against Barney Schultz. Ken Boyer hitting a grand slammer on Sunday in Game 4. And then back and forth, McCarver's homer in Game 5. The Yankees come back in Game 6. Mantle homers, Pepitone homers. Pepe hits a grand slammer, as a matter of fact. Maris homers. They get to Game 7. Gibson on the mound. Mantle in the 5th inning hits a 3-run homer to left center field, about 460 feet. But they're down, and he keeps them in the game. Think about this, a pitcher on the mound, 7-5 in the last inning, and he's still on the mound. And Johnny Keane said, I made a commitment to his heart. And he finished the game, Gibson. Gibson was amazing.
And what a weird situation that was with Johnny Keane.
Yep.
The Yankees decided to, he was already fired. He managed the team in the World Series.
Because
Then
they were going to get Leo DeRocha. That's why, the Cardinals.
Well, they ended up with Red Shadings.
Yeah, they were supposed to get Leo DeRocha. That was the plan, but it didn't happen.
And then they ended up with Red Shadings.
And Yankees wound up with Johnny Keane, who was terrible, awful as a Yankee manager, was ill-fitting, and he got the team on the way down. But, in that 9th inning, and he gave up those late home runs to Boyer and Phil Linz. In that 9th inning, they were so afraid Mantle was going to get back up again. If they got a little more rotation in the lineup, they would have got Mantle back to the plate. Yeah, come on. Mantle would have gotten back up, and if he had gotten back up, who knows what happens. The bottom line is, think about the way we live now in the age of specialization. Gibson is still in the game on fumes. Okay? He's giving up home runs to banjo hitters, and he's still in the game, and he finishes the game. How unbelievable is that? I mean, how amazing. It just shows you how different the game is now.
Yeah.
And
now we had a Super Bowl this year. We're just going to probably air after the Super Bowl, but the Jets in '60, when they won the Super Bowl, and changed everything.
Oh, without any question. There were 2 games that changed the NFL. Was the Colt-Giant overtime game.
Both coached by you, Hank.
Yep. And then, of course, the Namath game, where Namath in the second half just said, check with me at the line of scrimmage. He called the play at the line of scrimmage. And they beat him with the running game. They basically ran Snell.
Snell should have been the Super Bowl MVP.
Should have been, but you know how the quarterbacks always get it. Plus, Namath was so much the face of that team. He guaranteed a victory earlier in the week. But all Namath did was throw a couple passes over the middle of Sauer and basically let Snell run left behind that great Jet offensive line, and they were able to control the game. He caught him in blitzes. He did a great job. Namath was very smart. He did a great job reading defenses. And that game, but here's the thing, what people don't realize, the game that cemented the change in the NFL
was Chiefs.
Was the next year.
Chiefs.
Absolutely. There you go, Frank. Now
Chiefs,
you're on
Vikings.
your game. The next year, remember, Kansas City plays Minnesota, the Purple People Eaters. And the Chiefs, even though the Jets beat up the Colts the year before, the Chiefs are 12.5-point underdogs to the Vikings.
Yeah.
Oh, the NFL is still so much better than the AFL. And then you know what? The Chiefs go out there and destroy them.
Killed them.
With the offense in the 70s that lasted about 2 years. But Henry Stram had it that day, and basically they killed they killed them that day. It wasn't even a close game. And that was the end. No more could they say they were the dominant league. There was nothing dominant about anything. It was now football, and away we went. And football's growth. You know, football is made for the television set.
Yeah.
It's a perfect marriage. No other sport has it. Every other game you'd rather be in person. In football, you'd rather be home because you know what? Instant replay.
Yep.
You have to see the play more than once. Nobody can watch a play in regular speed and know what happened. You need to see the play 2 and 3 times. Instant replay. When I go to a game and I don't have instant replay, I'm looking around the whole time. I'm like, wait a second, I want to see that play again. I want to see that play. I hate being there because all I want is instant replay. I need instant replay. So when the game's better at home, that's why you get these astronomical numbers, plus gambling, which, you know, it's funny. In the old days, Roselle hated gambling. And he used to go to the Super Bowl and give it, you know, and everything, or wherever he was.
And now the Super Bowl is being played in Vegas.
Right, and it played in Vegas, which I never thought I'd see in my lifetime, I have to admit. But here's what Roselle said. He said, and you're a college football guy, so you'll know this guy. He came out, and one day when he was giving a press conference, and he said, you know what? Less than 2% of the people who watch NFL gamble on it. And Beano Cook, remember Beano Cook from college football?
Yep, I remember
Beano
him.
Cook had one of the great lines ever. He said, all of them live on my block.
You know,
hey, gambling has made the NFL.
And now
the NFL is perfect.
And now they have the
for
betting
gambling.
apps. It's exploded beyond belief.
Well, how about what's exploded beyond belief? How about they tell me you're like a rock star wherever you go. You go to the game, what do? You got autographs, you sign, you're doing voiceovers, you're doing personal appearances. You've become a rock star. Tell me, how has it changed your life? How does it feel to be now Frank the Tank, the sports celebrity?
It's crazy.
You like it?
Yeah, I do like it.
Do you embrace the public?
Yeah, I do. I appreciate all my fans.
You sign all the autographs.
I sign all the autographs.
Take the pictures. You got to do that. You got to do that.
And you know, one of the things is I have people like every Christmas send me their address, and I send out the Christmas cards. I send about 200 Christmas cards out every year.
Very nice. Very nice.
And
so here it is, Frank the Tank, the star of stage and screen now. Okay, that's it. You know, if you could be the emperor of sports for one day, what's the first thing you want to change?
The first thing I want to change, I'm the emperor of sports.
Yeah, one day. You're in charge. Anything, your first wish is granted. What do you want to do away with?
What do I want to do away with?
Or add, whatever you want to do.
Is this wanting a team to win?
Oh, so your first thing is you want a Met World Series, is that it? Or would it be a Dolphins Super Bowl? If you can only get one wish, which is it? Is it a Met World Series victory or is it a Dolphins Super Bowl? Which is it?
I think it's because baseball's my first love, the Mets. And I was only 10 when they won in '86.
Do you remember '86?
Yeah, I was only 10, but I remember I couldn't stay
The
up.
worst managed series in the history of the world. Now, Davey Johnson and I fought all the time. He didn't like me. He didn't like that I second-guessed him on the
Davey
air.
Johnson's the reason
And
they
let me
didn't
tell
win
you
more.
something. That series, both sides, was the worst managed World Series. Tell me why Buckner's even on the field. Okay? I mean, it's the worst managed World Series of all time.
They thought it was over, and Bill Buckner on the field to celebrate.
It worked out well for them, didn't it? I mean, the bottom line is that series was so badly run by both dugouts. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
How do you pinch hit? How do you double switch out Darryl Strawberry in Game 6?
Please.
Please.
I mean, we could go on and on. There were so many bad moves. There were more bad moves than there were moves. I mean, that's how bad it was. But what a colossal defeat and what a victory. And that was, let's be honest, that Met team, if there had been wild cards then, they would have won more than one championship because they would have been great in short series and they would have gotten into the playoffs. So the bottom line is they just were in the wrong era for only winning one World Series. They're one of the great runs of teams for 4 or 5 years that only won one World Series.
And their crazy lifestyle after you.
Well, I can tell you some stories that I'll keep to myself about some of those guys, including Lenny and all of them. But that was the wild bunch. There's no question about that.
Do you know who Lenny Dykstra's daughter-in-law is?
Who?
Metal soprano Jamie Lynn Seeger is married to Lenny Dykstra's son.
Is that true?
Yes, she's married to Cutter Dykstra.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And I know Lenny very well. You know, he used to come visit me in the studio all the time.
Yeah, Lenny Dykstra.
Very, very well.
Lenny Dykstra is metal soprano's father-in-law.
Well, let me tell you this. Keep walking. Keep doing what you're doing. Do it slowly. Forget all that nonsense of crash dieting and everything. Do it slowly so it sticks. And it was a pleasure to spend a couple of minutes walking with you. You know that?
Thanks a lot.
Anytime. And really,
fun.
Keep up the good work. And I'm very happy for your success.
Well, thank you. I got a story for you. You're talking about the name on back of jerseys?
Yeah.
And it's mandatory in the NBA, mandatory.
Go ahead.
Mandatory in the NFL, mandatory in the NHL.
Yep.
It became mandatory in the NHL in the 70s. And the crazy owner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, this guy was nuts. Harold Ballard.
Yep. Remember him?
Yeah.
Yep.
He refused to put the names on back. So they started finding him. So he said, okay, I'll put the names on back. He put blue names, blue letters, and white letters on white jerseys.
So you couldn't read them.
Blue letters, so you couldn't read them anyway.
That's right.
The guy was a nut.
He was.
The guy was actually kind of criminal too.
You got some crazy owners in those days. You know, a lot of those teams, they fell into different hands in those days. It was a different world. I mean, now you have to be, worth $1 billion. You got to have somebody who's worth $1 billion on paper before you can get a team. That's the bottom line. Yeah. I mean, somebody's got to have serious coin, real money, so it's not all borrowed. And now you have these players. All they want to do is get into ownership of these teams because they know that if their money is in there for 20 years or 15 years, they're going to 10 time it or 5 time it. They're going to make a fortune.
Even though his ownership ring was kind of a disaster in Charlotte, look how much money Jordan made.
Hey, when Cuban bought his team, everyone said, "Oh my God, what a fool! What? How could he pay that much for the Mavericks?"
And the Mavericks are garbage.
And look how much money he made on the. Nobody loses money with a team, ever. The bottom line is, you might not make a profit every year, but you don't have to. They don't want to show a profit every year. They could if they wanted to, but remember, they're writing off loans, they're writing off expenses, they're writing off all kinds of nonsense.
Which makes everything that still Wilpons did
and the bottom,
so much worse.
You know what they did was they commingled, and you're not allowed to do that anymore. They don't let you commingle anymore. Accounts, they used to commingle personal accounts with Met accounts, and they can't do that anymore because it becomes a problem if you have any issues like they had with Madoff.
Yeah.
It becomes an enormous problem.
He was almost like a silent partner of the team.
Omar told me once that Madoff was on the flight to Japan with him. I mean, so think about that. I mean, it was crazy.
No, he was.
But
I don't think.
I tell you, I asked Fred once. I sat, and I know Fred really well. And I always found Fred, whether you liked him or not, to be an honest man.
Fred wasn't the problem.
And I said to Fred, did you know anything about Madoff? And he said, Mike, I gave that guy my grandchildren's money. You think I would have given it to him if I knew that he was playing funny business? I didn't know what was going on. I was making money. I was happy. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't ask any questions. I probably should have.
Fred wasn't the problem.
And that was the bottom line. I don't think he knew. I really don't.
Fred wasn't the problem. You know what the problem was? His idiot son.
Well, listen, Jeff and I have always gotten along okay. But, here's the thing. Guys who are sons of owners who inherit teams are at such a disadvantage because the public hates them to begin with because they got the team by basically just being born. And when you're part of the Lucky Sperm Club, people don't like it. They resent it. So it's very hard to be a successful son of an owner and take over a team because everybody hates you because they hate the way you got the team. You didn't earn it.
Bobby Valentine got fired because he smart-mouthed Jeff Wilpon at a meeting?
I don't know that. I don't know. I know them both very well. I don't know what really happened there. I really can't say.
It was in a book called If These Walls Could Talk About.
I tell you, Bobby and I used to have our ups and downs. We almost came to blows one day down in the locker room. We almost got. We were. I really thought we were going to get in a fist fight. We were nose to nose, and Dog started the show, and I was up down there with him fighting for 40 minutes while Dog's on the air doing a show, and Bobby and I are down there nose to nose in the clubhouse fighting.
I liked Bobby. Of all the net managers in my fandom, he's
Bobby
and
I now get along really well. I mean, we really do. But in the beginning, we had a lot of problems.
I always liked Bobby.
But as I said, there's very few people I would have gone walking in the rain with.
Well,
okay,
honestly, it's an honor.
I only see a little Gene Kelly in you as far as singing in the rain. But listen, I hope your Mets do better than you hope for. And I hope that you continue your success and, more importantly, continue your walks. Well, that's very important.
That's the goal.
And your healthy habits, because you want to hang around for a while. Because you know what? You got to enjoy your celebrity now.
Yeah.
You gotta enjoy this. You got to enjoy the ride.
I got to see one of my teams win again. I got to see one of my teams
win
again. I got to go to a victory parade one time.
Absolutely, you will. You absolutely will. And I appreciate you having me on.
And I'll tell you this. I think, was it September 5th, 1989 you did with Mad Dog?
That's first day, yes.
That's right.
September 5th, 1989.
That's probably around the day I started high school.
Wow.
So, and...
I sat in the same chair at the same time for about 33 years. Same time period, every day for 33 straight years. That's not bad. Same job, same show, same station, same time for 33 years.
And I listened for most of those 30 years.
Thanks.
And I remember some of your great moments too. Like I actually was laughing so hard, I almost crashed my car when that guy with the Giants called up.
I still hear about that. 4 or 5 things still come back all the time when I meet people. It's really
Giants.
True.
Giants. That was. And the other day I went to Tops, and this is another thing that you always got bothered with. Brandon Inge.
You know what? I wanted Inge to come to the Yankees at one point, and everyone thought I had this love affair with Inge. They always brought Inge up. And the Geovany thing people ask me about, I don't know how it started. I really don't know. I went through so many calls every day. I had no idea how it started. I don't know if it was a game they were playing on the internet or what they were doing. I really don't know how it started. I really don't. Some of the things you just can't keep up on it. There's so much going on.
I have some that happens with me sometimes too. So I understand that.
You do. Well, listen. Good to see you.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, my pleasure. Keep it up.
I tried to get into broadcasting at college. I went to Montclair State. It didn't work out, but 20 years later, the dream came true, and
way to go.
Things are going well.
Keep it
that's
up.
why I say never give up your dreams. And
I'll tell you, always be yourself. Always be who you are. Don't let anybody change you. Don't let anybody change you ever. That's the only piece of advice I'll give you. Don't let anybody change who you are.
Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
Thank you for participating in this walk.
Thanks.
It was a great time flew by.
Thanks very much.
Frank Walks, Episode 2 with Mike Francesa, powered by BodyArmor. This is how you walk. You have to stay hydrated, and BodyArmor keeps you hydrated.